Smorl and Nicaster here. Today we are doing a tier list. That seems to be the thing going on during the pandemic. So let's just start doing it. I saw a couple YouTubers and in the community do a zone tier list, and so I figured I'd put my my thoughts to the list, and we'll start going through it. I'm going to try and compare because the zones were remade. I'm going to compare both old zone, new zone, and kind of split the difference on those. For example, like Thousand Needles or Elwyn Forest, etc., etc. So all the old zones will split the difference on the zone. And again, this is based off my history with them, my nostalgia on them. It's all my opinion. If y'all disagree with it, please comment down and explain why I was wrong on maybe a few of these. Without further ado, let's start with Thousand Needles. Okay, Thousand Needles. I remember being here in about 2005 with my Tauren Shaman. Dark Shaman was his name. Pretty edgy shit right there. I remember going through it. At the time, I didn't really have any quest helpers. All I had was Thoughtbot. But I do remember, I think Shimmering Flats was probably one of my most memorable moments of Thousand Needles. So because Thousand Needles does stick in my memory because of Shimmering Flats, I think it was a good zone. I think with the water level, I think the idea of all with the new Cataclysm with the water and stuff, I think it's an interesting zone to level with, and that's what was. But it's not my favorite, and because of that, that's why it's good and not great. Definitely the classic zone of Thousand Needles was better. With that being said, I think it's a good zone. Alterac Mountains. Alterac Mountains for at least for the Alliance was just an extension zone. There's no main hub there. It's gonna be. I'm gonna put this in the bad section. There's very little quests, especially with in Vanilla / Classic. There's a few quests. There's no actual questing hub. It's all out of South Shore for the Alliance, and I think Terran Mill for the Horde. In your Horde, half the zones, well, the entire zone's unfriendly because you also have the original Dalaran back in Vanilla. So all around, just a bad zone. I know there's some history and some lore with it, but other than that, meh. It's not my favorite. In Tauren Waste, I'm going to call this awful. So in Tauren Waste, as some of you may know, was the final zone for Legion. You couldn't fly. The zone was completely dense. Every time, wherever you wanted to run, you get dismounted because you're dazed. The questing was alright, but it was like an hour and a half, 2 hours to even get started in the zone. It was just, I have a lot of alts. I have 10 to 12 max levels on the Alliance and 10 to 12 max levels on the Horde. Doing that pre-zone multiple times for Tauren Waste drove me insane. So, anyway, so that's why it's in the awful zone. Arathi Highlands. So, Arathi Highlands, I'm going to say, is a decent zone. I remember leveling there. In Vanilla, I never really at the time knew how to group up with people. And because of that, I definitely had issues because there's a good portion, I'd say about a quarter of the quests are elite onlys. And the level range of the zone, the first couple of quests start at level 30, and they go all the way up to like 40, 42 with some of the higher level quests in the elite zones. So, I mean, the level range on this is very, very wide, and you have to come back multiple times unless you have a group. Got a little bit better with the Cataclysm because everything's kind of normalized and easier, and got even easier when they did the any level. As soon as you went there, it scaled with you, the level scaling. Despite how bad Battle for Azeroth has been and the Warfront in Arathi Highlands, I do think the Battle for Azeroth level 120 zone of Arathi Highlands is pretty cool, and that's why it's going to bring it up from. Well, that's why it's going to stay decent. I guess it could be good. It's a good zone. There's some bad about it, but I think all the iterations of it have all been positive in my memory, not negative. It's just kind of a hard zone to deal with. So we'll call it a good zone. Ashen Vale. Ashen Vale will be a decent zone. The reason it's a decent zone for me is the very kind of like similar to Arathi Highlands. Ashen Vale has a very steep leveling curve when it comes to the Horde. It's actually it's a dual Horde Alliance leveling hub. The Horde, I think, have a little bit more quests in there, especially in vanilla. But when it comes to the Alliance, the thing is, nobody actually really levels on Kalimdor, pretty much up until level 30 or so, as Alliance. And when you're playing the Alliance, first off, in vanilla, is the quests are very spread out, very hard to get to, and there's not many there. And it's, again, there's not much around this as a hub. So, for example, if you're doing Duskwood, you can then you can fly up to Wrathy Highlands, or not Wrathy Highlands, Wetlands in like 3 to 4 minutes. To get to Ashenvale, you have to. Let's say you're leveling in Duskwood, you hit your like level cap sort of. You're at 24. All the rest of the quests are 26, 27, 28. You want to go to Ashenvale, you have to fly up to or down to Booty Bay or Menethil Harbor. Take the boat over to either Booty Bay and run through the Horde zones, or you can take the boat to Aberdeen, I think it's called, and what the hell is it called, Darkshore, and then run all the way down, get the flight boat. If you don't have the flight path, then run all the way down. If you don't, take the flight path, but you still catch the boat, and because of the boat and continent transfer, it takes a while. But the thing is, the zone isn't bad. It's just nobody. I don't think much people on the Alliance level there. A lot of people in the Horde level there, but there's a very steep leveling curve to it. With the newer zones, it definitely equals it out a bit because there's a quest line and level scales. But not much. I don't have much memories of it. It's just kind of It's just there. So I'm gonna call it decent. Ashran, I'm not gonna lie. I never really did Warlords of Draenor too much. When I was there, I'll say it's a decent zone. I know a lot of people are going to say, no, this is an amazing or great zone just because of the ingenuity of PvP there. But again, I didn't do much of that, so I can't really go upon that too much. I do remember it just being kind of a cool zone, but it doesn't stick to me very much. Azsuna. I remember Azsuna quite well. This is a good zone. It's borderline great, so we'll put it in good for now. Definitely ahead of Thousand Needles. If I can move it. Yeah, we go. It's definitely ahead of Thousand Needles. I remember what I like about it is the leveling zone's very, very linear. Most of the quests there, the thing that was not making it great is some of the questing hubs. I feel like it doesn't go with the storyline when you're dealing with the giants or whatever in the bottom part of the map. Other than that, it's the leveling was very linear, very easy to follow. I didn't die too many times. It was a very good zone to cruise through. It flowed very well. I didn't hit too much resistance leveling, but it's still fun and challenging. Definitely a good zone. Most of the Legion zones are pretty good, actually. Azshara, that's a bad zone. So a lot of people are saying, "Oh, Azshara is a great zone." Da, da, da. The reason I think Azshara is a bad zone is because there's not much there at all, and some people think that's the reason why. It's a good zone, but Vanilla Classic, you really can't level there. I think there's like 10 quests, if not a little bit less than that. There's not much to do during Vanilla Classic, and then when it comes to the revamp, it became kind of a level 10 alternate to what level was it in Cataclysm? I think it was like level 10 to 20 maybe. Either way, I don't even remember what level it was because I never leveled there in Cataclysm when it revamped, and it's just kind of a bad zone. There's not much to it. Azure Mist Isle. I'm just gonna put in the decent behind Ashran, behind Ashvale. Azure Mist Isle. Yeah, it's a decent zone. I remember leveling a few Draenei through there. It was a decent leveling zone. The only problem with it is how far away from it is from the rest of the continent. Let's say you want to go to Elwyn Forest, you have to take the boat to Aberdeen, and then from Aberdeen to Menethil Harbor, then do the run. It's a little bit more streamlined now in retail, but even in Burning Crusade, just to get off of Azure Mist Isle was kind of a pain to get to the rest of the zoning. luckily, you didn't really have to deal with that run until level 20 because it did have its own self-sustained 10 to 20 zone. You didn't have to go to Westfall, which is very nice. But because of that, it's in the decent and not good just because of the traveling. Badlands. I have bad memories of Badlands. So the problem with Badlands, in my opinion, the zone is very spread out, but where you actually need to, this is for Classic and Vanilla. The reason I can say Classic and Vanilla because some people get triggered when you say Classic when the true game was Vanilla, but whatever. In Classic / Vanilla, it's a very spread out zone, but where it matters, it's very dense. There's a lot of ogres, tigers, birds, rocks, elementals, etc. There's no direct flight path or leveling hub there for the Alliance. I'm leveling Alliance in Classic. I level Horde in Vanilla. The Horde would make it a mid bad to decent zone, but because there's also 2 factions, I have to go into bad zone because it's going to weigh it down more. There's not much you can do. There's no leveling. There's no hubs. You can't directly fly there. The quests are all spread out through the map. It's very hard to level if you're going add-on lists. I've gone to level 60 without add-ons, and it's hard to find all the quests like where they are. A few of them are just pick up items that end up becoming quests, etc. So because of that, it's definitely in the bad zone. Our first Burning Crusade Outlands zone. So Blades Edge Mountains. To me, this is a decent zone. I remember leveling here on my Orc Hunter, Varrock. That's where I found my pet that I still actually have to this day, Timberding. It's just a fun zone. It's much easier with a flying mount. And the one thing that makes it from bad to decent is I really remember doing those Orgryla quests to get the little flying splooge. And I remember doing the Simon Says and all the little crystal quests. I had a good time at level 70 in this zone. The leveling experience was bad, but you had Gruul's Lair, which in my opinion was one of the best raids in all the raids in Burning Crusade were pretty tits. But this Gruul's Lair, I just have memories because it was like my first big raiding experience I ever did. I was a Warlock, so I remember I was Hunter and Warlock. I remember having to Warlock tank that first boss. Blades Edge just has a lot of memories for me. Again, the leveling zone did kind of suck. That's why it's decent and not good. Was because the leveling experience was bad, but everything else about Blades Edge, in my opinion, was a good, fun, memorable experience. The Blasted Lands. I'm gonna put it in bad just because I never leveled there. There's a few quests there in Vanilla Classic. It is a leveling hub for the Alliance, but not Horde. But again, I feel like it was an afterthought or a zone that they were going to get to, but they just never finished. There is that Nether Point, I think it's called, for the Alliance. There's definitely, this would be a decent for the Alliance, but awful for the Horde. Because the Horde, to get there, you have to go to Stonard. Which is not a problem if you already have Stonard, but if you didn't have Stonard, this essentially, this is the best way I can explain it. This is the Badlands for the Horde. You have to use the local flying hub is in Duskwall or Swamp of Sorrows, and not it's similar to Lochmoden for the Alliance. But again, there's just wasn't memorable for me. It's kind of lame. It does get a little couple perks because now the Dark Portal is there, but no one ever uses it anymore because the portals are now in the main city hub. So no one goes to Blasted Lands to level. It was crap then, and it's crap now. Bloodmist Isle we'll put right next to, I'm going to put right in front of Azure Mist. So Azure Mist was, Blood Mist was a decent leveling zone. It's kind of cool because you're actually a Draenei fighting the Blood Elves. Kind of little, PvP sort of kind of experience. But what is kind of remarkable about it was because you could almost get to level 20, if not level 20, in Blood Mist alone. Where if you're leveling a human, for example, you have to go to Westfall, and then you have to go to Lochmoden. You have to bounce, you have to ping pong a little bit between those two zones. I know when BC came out, the experience did drop, so you might be able to squeeze out Westfall all the way to level 17 to 20, debatable. But Bloodmist Isle is similar to Blood Elves. They had their own self-sustained from level 1 to level 20, plus a little like outdoor raid. Sorry, not raid. Outdoor dungeon, which is pretty cool. So that's why it's a decent zone. Again, what makes it decent and not good is how isolated it is, and how you never, ever, ever, never return to it after you finish the 2 zones. Like, you still go to Westfall even at level 60. There's not much there, but I mean, it's you still cross the zone, you still fly over the zone, you still do things within that zone, and most others, except these two, are completely isolated from the rest of the continent. Boreal Tundra. Here's our first Wrath of the Lich King zone. This one's going to go to amazing. So, if it was me, if you're asking me this question back when BC or not BC, Wrath of the Lich King launched, it'd be definitely in the bad zone because I was a noob, didn't really know what the hell I was doing. I didn't know what the hell I was doing up until about Old Lore. I played since launch. I was, a dummy. Boreal Tundra. What's so cool about it is you get there, you're already the questing is it's like drinking from a fire hydrant. You're doing the blue dragonfly, you're doing the scourge stuff, you're helping these little walruses kill the essentially we didn't know at the time, but Helya's minions. I think they were the seaweed Vicroll guys. But I mean, essentially, as soon as you get off the boat, you're already the level experience was just completely different than what we've had experienced in the prior 2 games, Vanilla and BC. The first thing you encounter is somebody setting up a cultist thing right underneath the boat, right in the middle of the zone, which is crazy. And then you went from there. You helped out a farm. It was your first experience truly with the Scourge. I mean, it was like Western Plaguelands on steroids. And then you also had the Nexus Wars going on. It was a zone full of lore, and it was just fun and easy to level. There's definitely zones better than this for sure, but it's my preferred leveling zone almost over Howling Fjord. But we'll get there. Broken Shore. This one's the decent. We'll put it in front of Ashran. Ashran will probably go to the back. So Broken Shore. Broken Shore is a fun zone. I didn't do too much of Broken Shore. I definitely took a break in the middle of Legion. I was playing a lot of Xbox at the time, starting new jobs and whatnot. So I missed the hype of the Broken Shore. I didn't really do the daily hubs there, but when I went back there for Pathfinder, I didn't have didn't have a bad time with it. I thought the quests were fun. Had Mage Tower, had a lot of lore there. When I was doing Mythics, that was fun. Broken Shore ended up being a decent zone. A few things I didn't like about it is if you didn't have your flying mount, since you had to get your Pathfinder there, there's a lot of ads, a lot of stuff that dazes you. It was just a nightmare to run around until you got your flying mount. The flying mount would make it a good zone. The running around without your flying mount makes it a bad zone, and so we're splitting the difference, putting it decent. But because it had Mage Tower and gave you some lit transmogs, we are going to bypass these few in doing so. Burning Steppes is a good zone. I don't know if it's better than these two, but so Burning Steppes essentially is a good zone for both Alliance and Horde. It was fun. It had a common point. It was only fun. Shit, we might need to move it down to decent. If you're on World PvP, it's decent. If you're in PvE, I'd say it's good. And then it all depends on population servers. Because if you're on Horde dominant or Alliance dominant servers in PvP, as soon as you land Thorium Point, you're at, or Thorium Point, that's in Searingord. My bad. But I remember landing in that southern zone of, I forget what it's called, in Burning Steppes. When I was a kid, I called it Steppes. But I remember just being ganked all the time in World PvP. Yeah, it wasn't Thorium Point. That was a brain fart on my end. That's in Searingord. But you had a decent leveling zone. Cataclysm revamped the leveling zone to, I think, even better leveling zone. You also had Blackrock Mountain. It was a flying. It was essentially one of the 2 hubs to get to Blackrock Mountain to do all the raids. That had 2 raids and like 5 dungeons or 4 dungeons or whatever. Decent zone. I'm not going to complain about too much. It was a good zone. I said decent on accident. It was a good zone. I do remember it a bunch. I remember flying over it, level like 20 or 15, going to Ironforge in a human, my human priest at the time. I'm like, dude, one day I'll get down there and I'll be leveling up there. Never did. That character got deleted. But regardless, Crystal Song Forest. Crystal Song Forest is one of the worst zones in World of Warcraft. I think it goes in front of this one. So it's a zone that's completely over graphics, a zone that has like 4 quests, and has no quest hubs, and slow downloading on my brother's hand-me-down pre-built computer that ran at 4 frames per second. I don't want to say anything more about that zone. Darkshore, bad. Where should it go? It's probably the worst of the bad. So Darkshore, yeah. If you're a night elf, you don't even level in Darkshore. Most night elves hop on the boat, get over to Menethil Harbor, do the run of death, run to Ironforge, take the tram down to Westfall, or Stormwind, and then run to Westfall. Nobody levels here because there's very little quest. The level curve is steep. It goes from 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. And like by the time you're level 12, the quests you're taking are level 16. If you get a group and you're able to do those, you're both level maybe 13 doing level 18 quests. It's just no. You have to do and you end up having to do the run even if you do level there. And this is talking about Classic and Vanilla, and it doesn't get much better in Cataclysm. It's even harder to traverse at level 15 before they cheapen the game with flying mounts at level 20 or at level 10 or whatever it is now. Fuck if I know. It's hard to traverse, and so because of that, it's in bad. Deadwind Pass. Are we talking about BC or Vanilla? Deadwind Pass because of it's a good zone. It's a good zone because it holds some nostalgia from Classic, and as well it holds Karazhan, which is one of my favorite raids. I remember level 7th grade, my Warlock, not knowing what, I was still stacking healing gear in my Warlock, sneaking upstairs after dinner, not doing dishes, to just get in a group to do the chess event, I think it was. I remember that day. It was fun. Anyways, Deadwind Pass in Classic. You remember running through there? It has no music for my very solemn music. The birds that have skulls on them, because you're probably level 27 to 35 going to Swamp of Sorrows, and a little bird starts chasing you for about 2 miles, and it's a skull. Scares the shit out of you, and then when that comes, it since it scares you, and then now we're in BC. It got upgraded because now we have Karazhan, so it's a good zone. Deepholm. Oh, is Deepholm? Where do we put Deepholm? It's gonna be an unpopular decision. I'm gonna put Deepholm as number 1 for Deepholm is number 1 for decent zone. I know it had a lot of lore. It was a very lore-ish zone, but I just hated it leveling up. I know the reason it's indecent, not bad or awful, is because I was able to smash through and got some good levels, and I beat my friend level 85. But of all the zones in Cataclysm, in my opinion, this one next to Vashj'ir was the worst too. Vashj'ir is definitely worse than this one, but it just wasn't my favorite. I know the quests it was hard to traverse. I don't remember if you had flying mounts at 83 when you went there. I really can't. No, I don't think you do. I think you got flying in the Cataclysm zones at 85, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember exactly when flying mounts were, but I remember this level was incredibly hard to traverse. There was a lot of shelving, a lot of whatever. It was hard. Desolace. This is gonna be very unpopular, but the Desolace is a good zone, especially in Classic. Some of my most memorable moments was being on a Tauren Druid in cat form, grinding the politics quest. I know a lot of people hated that, but for some reason that grind, killing those guys. I was eating my Jawbreaker from the Regal Cinemas movie theater. My buddy was over. We had a 2-liter bottle of Mountain Dew that we snuck from. We rode our bikes down to Safeway with some of our allowance, and we bought some goddamn Mountain Dew and hid it for my mom. This zone just has memories for me. That's the only reason it's good. Objectively, this is probably a bad zone or low decent zone, but because of the memories it has for me, way better memories for these. I even looked forward to this zone at level 34 in Classic. I remember it was like, as me and my buddy were hanging out, I'm like, the first thing I'm fucking doing is going to Dustless at 34 to do that, the Bad Politics, the Coal Car quest. That was fun. We have a lot of zones. Dragon Blight. Dragon Blight is a great zone. It has the cinematic for Wrathgate. I mean, that was one of the great. That was like the first in-game cinematic. The leveling zones was cool. You meet Alex. First, you're doing some Scourge stuff. You're doing the Plague quest if you're a Horde. You end up doing all the Dragonflight quests. It was just a lot of stuff going on. Plus, you also had the cinematic. Great zone. Yeah, loved it when I was leveling up. Dread Waste. Actually, no. This isn't a amazing. This isn't gonna be upgraded to amazing. Dread Waste. Bad. I'm gonna put it next to Jara. The Dread Waste was annoying because, again, Panda was probably my least favorite expansion, and you didn't get your flying mount until max level, so you had to run around, and you got constantly dazed. All the quests were all over the place. It took forever to get your level. It took like 7 hours to do the goddamn quest. It was I hated it. So that's staying there. Drustvar. Drustvar is a great zone. Drustvar is one of my favorite leveling zones in Battle for Azeroth. The quests are very linear. The quest made sense. The whole storyline of the zone was awesome. The graphics of the zone was awesome. It's very dense is my only downside. But you're able to level quick there. The zone, I burned through the zone quick, and I enjoyed every moment of it. The last, maybe 2 quests on the storyline did get a little tedious, but it is what it is. It was fun. Dun Morrow, I'm gonna call it good. I never really leveled dwarves. I'm not a big dwarf fan, but whenever leveled there, it was a good zone. You're able to where quests were. Quest layout wasn't bad. They revamped it. The layout's still pretty good. It's easy to navigate. It's not a nightmare like a few of the starting zones are. Good zone. Duatar. I'm going to put Duatar in front of Dun Morrow as a good zone. I remember leveling there with my Varrock, my Orc Hunter. Just some of the most memorable moments, but just because it is a starting zone, there's not much lore to it. The layout's okay. There's a lot of running around, a lot of collecting quests, a lot of scorpions. It's just a good zone because of, I guess, more nostalgia than the zone itself, but I liked it. It had two starters there. You had the not dwarves. You had the trolls and the orcs. Not a bad zone. I enjoyed it. Duskwood. Duskwood's a great zone. Both Classic and Cataclysm revamp, great zones. For Classic, you had this. I think what makes this zone great is the Sven, whatever the fuck it's called. The Legend of Solvin, I think it was, where that guy went around killing people and whatnot. Where that just quest. Oh man, that's so memorable. Running around, not having quest helpers on, very hard to figure out, but it's so rewarding when you're done. Zone span from level 20 to 30, and you didn't really have to dip out too much. You had to dip out a few times to catch up with leveling, because it had a decent level curve, but not too bad. I enjoyed it. Duskwood was a very fun zone. It's a great zone. And even with Cataclysm, they maintained its. They changed the quests around, but it didn't change too much where it wasn't recognizable. Duskwallow Marsh is a bad zone, probably below Darkshore. A lot of crocodiles. Pain in the ass to navigate. Just didn't like it. Questing, there's very little quests there, especially in Classic. Not even the quest chains are not even complete. I don't know if anyone's remembered they did the quest near the Barrens where the Torn ransacked the place. I think it was the quest line just died. They forgot to finish it, whatever. So yeah, Ellen Forest is a great zone. I'm gonna put it right between these two. I love humans on the Alliance. They're probably one of the only ones I actually level. Leveling's easy there. I know where everything is. I just love I love the soundtrack of it, the birds chirping, the questing. Fucking Hogger. Hogger's one of the most memorable boss, little wanted quests ever. One of the reasons it's great is because it's a starting zone. It is borderline amazing, but I'm putting it up there because the Hogger and just the Defias leveling zone. They didn't ruin the zone with the Cataclysm revamp. I do like the vanilla / classic versions better, but it's a great zone. Eastern Plaguelands. It's a bad zone. Eastern Plaguelands was, especially in vanilla classic, very little quests, very hard to do, hard to navigate, boring. I don't even really need to go further. It did have Scourge, which was lit, but other than that, it was just hard, and I just didn't like the zone. Eversong is going to be tied with Azure Mist because I like Blood Elves more than Draenei. It's going ahead of it. Eversong Forest was a cool zone, again self-contained up in the northern part of Eastern Kingdoms. The lore of it was pretty awesome. Actually, it's going to go ahead of there. The lore of Eversong was awesome. It talked about, the Scourge invasion, the Withered, lacking the magic. It was just a very well laid out zone, easy to traverse. There's no actually Cataclysm revamp that I know of, but a fun zone. Felwood. Whew. This one's going to be on the borderline of bad and decent, so we're going to put on this one. Felwood was a weird zone where I kind of really enjoyed the quest where you had to grind rep. I like those kind of. This kind of reminds me of the Desolace quest line, but the rest of the zone was just. I guess it's just as bad as Desolace, but Felwood it was just the level you get there like 45, level 44, level 45, and it goes all the way up to like 50, which doesn't sound like a lot, but at that leveling zone. To get from 45 to 50, depends on how much you play. If you play like 4 hours a day, it's going to take you about a month to get to or so. It's just the zone layout is It's hard. It is harder to traverse than Desolace. The only fun thing is killing those bear creature things and grounding rep. Other than that, kind of Fearless is a decent zone, but not I remember it's okay. It has Dire Maul. Without Dire Maul, probably being the bad zone. It was just kind of a wash. It's not the greatest zone in the world, but it's also not bad. It's a decent leveling zone. It is a kind of a bitch to traverse though. It's one of my biggest gripes about it. But luckily, you should have your ground mount by then. But a lot of stuff that will daze you. A lot of the mobs are stacked. It's just kind of Frostfire Ridge. We'll put Frostfire Ridge in a good zone. Frostfire Ridge is one of the first zones you go to in whatever the hell it's called. Warlords of Draenor. Quest zone's pretty linear, pretty easy to traverse. It's a lot of ogres. Wasn't my favorite zone, but it's still a good zone. It's where your campsite is. Not too memorable for me, but I do remember having a good experience leveling, and so because of that, it's going to go in the good zone. Ghostlands. Ghostlands is going to go above Blood Mist, just like the Draenei. It's a self-contained zone. I like the outdoor dungeon, whatever it was called. I think it was called I forget what it was called. But it was a good zone. It also had Zolomon, Zolomon I think it was called. The raid, the 10-man raid with the bear. Very fun zone. Gilneas is gonna go right there. It's gonna go above Ash Vale. Gilneas had the potential to be an amazing zone, or anything but above a good zone, or decent zone. But because it was capped to only Worgen, and it felt short, I don't feel like they touched upon it enough. I feel like the zone did fall short a bit. So because of that, it's gonna go into decent zone. Gorgron is going to go into a great zone, but below Duskwood. Gorgron was probably one of the favorite leveling zones of Warlords of Draenor. Easy to level. It's a little bit hard to traverse, but the quest lines were very straightforward, easy to do. Had Blackrock Foundry, one of the best raids in Draenor, pretty much one of the only ones in Draenor. But I'm not going to go down that path. Very good, the probably best zone to level in during Worlds of Draenor. So because of that, it scores a great zone. Grizzly Hills, amazing. Grizzly Hills is one of my favorite zones of Northrend. The soundtrack is tits. I remember going there at 74. The zone is laid out perfectly. It's an easy zone to squish 2 levels out. You go there at 74, you leave at 76. Leaves you enough to skip Zol Drak and go straight to Sholazar almost. Just one of my most memorable zones. I love the kind of like, what would you call it? Frontier feel to it. The plaid almost. It had a Ring of Blood system going on. Just overall great zone. Amazing. Not great. Amazing zone. You had I forget what the tree was called. Vortisil and Androsil. The whole lore about that and the world tree and Yogg-Saron. Tits zone. Hellfire Peninsula is going to be right there. Hellfire was a great zone. Remember, as soon as you cross the portal in the dark portal, you see that Pit Lord, just big dick in it right there. About if you run out, you get killed. I remember I didn't know what to do because I didn't have quest markers on. I was an idiot. I thought I can run past him and I got fucking smashed. The only thing that's making this from a great zone as opposed to amazing zone, it was the questing was debatable. It was very spread out. Was not very linear. Wasn't very self-feeding, I guess you can say. Very decently hard to traverse. You randomly get smashed by a Fel Reaver, but it did have Hellfire Citadel. Zone was great. It's a great zone. And yeah. Highmountain is a good zone. Where does it go though? Highmountain is going to be a good zone. It's kind of a pain in the ass to traverse. It wasn't the best zone in Legion. Graphics are good, but what I do like about it is it's the only zone that had a female lead that wasn't social justice tainted. It was just a good. She had a good character arc. What was her? Maya High Totem or whatever her name was. Solid zone. It's a good zone. It's not great, not amazing, but it's a pretty damn good zone. Hillsbrad Foothills. Hillsbrad Foothills going to go on the borderline of bad and decent. So it's more we put in, we'll smash it right in there. Hillsbrad Foothills it was an okay leveling zone. No, actually it wasn't. It was bad. We'll put it up here. Hillsbrad Foothills was decent for Horde. That's why it belongs right now. No, it belongs there. For Horde, it's a decent zone, but for Alliance, it's bad. The Lions don't have a leveling hub. I mean, they have 4 quests. Kill Murlocs, kill Naga. 2 worst things to kill when doing quests are Naga and fucking Murlocs. For Horde, they had a little bit more to do. They had to get the kill the humans at that little facility. But it ended up just being a quest hub for Alterac Mountains. That's why it's a little bit ahead of it, but still crap. Hinterlands is a decent zone, but probably about right there. I remember doing the Hinterlands. It has a really cool bow, at least in the Horde. I don't know about the Alliance. It has a little bone bow. Remember, I racked on I didn't get upgrades just because I liked the way the bow looked, because every other bow in fucking Classic Vanilla was trash. But the zone just kind of falls flat. I don't really remember it too much. I just remember being like, it was a decent zone, but it's not bad, but it's not good. So I think it just belongs somewhere in a decent pile. Howling Fjord is the best zone I've ever. Let's move this over here. Howling Fjord. No, I have that right. Nope. Over there, bitch. Howling Fjord had the best soundtrack, the best dungeons, the best leveling. Everything about Howling Fjord is my favorite zone of Northrend. I still get a little bit emotional when I fly through Howling Fjord and listen to the soundtrack. It's one of the only zones when replaying this place. When replaying leveling up, I usually go to Howling Fjord, then Boreal. No other zone leaves the emotional impact that Howling Fjord does. At least to me. Now Hyjal. And it's a good zone. My Hyjal was a very, very linear leveling zone, but it was very spread out. I did prefer this one. If you were to compare this compared to the underwater level, this goes amazing, but we're gonna move it up. It was a good zone. It's definitely better than Dustless, so when I was doing it, the dungeons were cool. It was an alright zone. It was a good leveling zone for the expansion that it contained. It was actually one of the best leveling zones when it came to Cataclysm. I think the only 2 that are better. I think this is tied with Twilight Highlands and second to Oldham. So yeah, it scores a good. Ice Crown. Ice Crown. Ice Crown. Ice Crown. Ice Crown is a great zone because it houses the Lich King, the greatest boss of all time, but it was very hard to traverse. The leveling zone's kind of a bitch to do. It also had the Trial Crusader, which in my opinion, if it didn't have that, it'd probably be an amazing zone. But the questing was a bit difficult, not because the questings were difficult, just because I couldn't afford my flying mount at the time until about halfway through. So I either get ported around, or it left a bad taste in my mouth. And even when I had my flying mount, I just didn't. It wasn't my favorite leveling experience, but again, it was the lore behind Ice Crown was great, amazing. So the leveling experience was good. The lore behind it's amazing. The boss behind it's amazing. Everything about it's amazing except the leveling. So it's in a great zone. Definitely above. Definitely behind these two. Definitely above those. Isle of Thunder. This one I never actually went to, so I'm gonna put awful / I don't know. So we're gonna just put it there. I don't know. Didn't really do it. Let's see if I can do settings. What does this do? Awful / I don't know. There we go. There we go. Sweet. Jade Forest was a. Let's take that into account. So Jade Forest is a good zone. It was probably the best leveling zone for Pandaland. At least it was my favorite. It was easy to traverse, easy to level. You didn't get dazed. Mobs weren't stacked on each other. It had a good, enjoyable leveling zone. Like for example, Coon Line sucked. I don't remember the rest of the zones. But anyways, Jade Forest was actually a good zone to level up in. It was actually when I got there, I'm like, okay, maybe Pandaland won't be too bad. Well, I left Jade Forest, and after what's the next one? What the hell is it called? Storm Song? No, it's not Storm Song. Well, we'll get to it. The first two zones in Pandaland were all right. The rest of them were not the greatest. Kazan, it was decent, bad. I didn't really like the leveling zone, but it was okay. I've only made like 2 goblins. Actually, never finished the other goblin quest, so I know where that's gonna go. Kazan was okay. It was kind of like a Grand Theft Auto kind of feel, so goes in a decent spot. Karsing Winds never did, sadly. Crocoon. Oh, this is gonna sit next to Antorn Waste for shizzle. Same deal as Antorn Waste. Hard to navigate. Crap zone. Hated it. Got dismounted all the time. Yeah, deserves to be in the bottom of the pit. It's like the fat cheerleader at the bottom. Kunlai, bad zone. Hated it. The terrain was trash. The fucking graphics were trash. It was depressing. The mobs sucked. The quests sucked. Stacked on top of each other. The killing those little weird little miniature Tauren guys were just, the whole zone just was trash. It's not trash enough to be an awful because it is a fast leveling zone. You're able to burn through it in just under a few hours, but it's bad. It's not a fun experience, so let's go into the bad one. Loch Moden. Loch Moden's going to go in the middle of the pack. It's better than Nashville for sure. Remember, I know a lot of people hate them, but I love doing those Trog quests. It's all overall good experience. I didn't wipe too many times leveling up here. It's easy to get your herbs. It's easy to level your professions up. It has a lot of mining nodes. Quests are decent. It's fun to ping pong between this and Westfall. So it's gonna go in a decent pile. Lost Isle. I didn't do it. Mercury is going to go next to these. Again, all of these zones are, to me, all the same. Ugh. Mechagon was good. Mechagon's a good zone. It's border. We'll put it up here then. Mechagon was fun because it was the first of its kind. The dailies, you could skip them if you wanted. They were chores, but the zone was interestingly laid out. You could still use your flying mount once you had Pathfinder. Some of the rewards give you a lot of good stuff. It was a decent zone. I liked it. It was good. I keep saying decent because in my personal life I use decent interchanged with good. So it was a good zone. I actually enjoy it. So yeah, we'll put it right there. Moonglade. Jesus, I have so many notifications. Where did I put? Lost. Or did I put it? Oh well. I don't know what zone I had, but we'll just move on. Mulgore. As a kid, I loved Mulgore, but as I actually continued leveling up and came back to it, especially in vanilla, it's a bad zone. It's not a good place for beginners. The mobs are stacked on each other. The quest rewards are awful, and they don't really gear you up enough to even take on the mobs. It's just awful. It almost belongs there, but because it has some memories to it, it's gonna go behind Dread Wastes, and I hate Dread Wastes. Oh hey, Nagrand Outland, amazing. Nagrand Outlands is one of my favorite zones in Outlands. I remember grinding those ogres to get the little elk mount. I just spent hours here grinding. I loved it. All my memories here were just amazing. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. Um, the environment was bright, inviting. I loved grinding the death camps, etc. Yeah, whatever. I really enjoyed that zone. Nagrand Draenor. It's a decent zone. I'm not a big fan of Draenor's levels. It was an okay leveling zone. The cutscene with Thrall was pretty tits. Other than that, it's a decent zone, but yeah. Nazjatar. It's gonna be unpopular. It was a bad zone. People like it because all the lore behind it, but I hated it. Without Pathfinder, the zone is undoable without Pathfinder, and you shouldn't build a zone that needs Pathfinder, and because of that, it's bad. The quests were eh, the dailies are eh, and the navigation of it was trash. So it's in the bad zone. Never did. So all the horde zones are actually going to be probably put in. I don't know. Never level horde through BFA. Netherstorm's a good zone. I remember leveling here as on my warlock. It was a decent leveling experience. I liked it more than Shadowmont Valley at the time. The quests were easier to find without any quest helper, which was cool. The quests are also easier to do without quest helper and just doing them because that's a good zone. Isle of Quel'Delanis. Oh my god, this is great. Isle of Quel'Delanis was one of my favorite daily hubs. It was perfectly laid out. You could do the entire thing about 45 minutes to an hour. You grinded rep, you grinded gold. I remember I had 5 level 70s at the time, so I was able to get 500 gold in like 100 gold an hour or so. Because all the quests gave 10 gold or 5 gold or whatever, and you could do it in about an hour. You didn't wipe too many times, or you didn't die too many times. It's just good times. I remember the summer of 08, man. Summer of 08. Red Ridge Mountains, a great zone too. It was right next to Elwyn. So when I was leveling up my first time, I burned through Lochmoden and Westfall. I didn't know where to go, so I just started exploring, and I ran into Red Ridge. And it was like my climb to the top of the mountain experience. I fucking loved Red Ridge, and even in the remake, it still holds true to its roots. Very good zone. Man, I'm getting tired. We've been talking for almost an hour, folks. We'll start speeding up a little bit. Searingord. We'll put this next to Burning Steps. It's a good zone. It's a decent leveling zone. It also holds the entrance to that, whatever the fuck it's called, Blackrock Mountain, Thorium Point. This also really would blow ass if you're on a PvP server that's heavily weighted one way because you're gonna die at Thorium Point. But because I've never played on PvP, I'm not taking that into account. So it's a good zone. Shadowmoon Valley. It's going to be the top of the descent. So I hated this in Outlands. I mean, the more I play Outlands today, the better zone, but I have to keep in mind my experience back then. And if it was my experience back then, it'd be definitely down here in the bad, but because I've played it multiple times now, it's a better zone. I eventually downloaded Quest Helper. Shh. Grinding another Drake was a pain in the ass. I'm going to just leave it there. It was just hard to navigate. I kept getting killed by the stupid Fel Basilisk. I kept falling into the lava. Just hated it. Just didn't like this zone. Shadowmoon Draenor is going to go up near Frost Ridge. I liked both of these zones. I actually liked this one better than Frost Ridge, just because I thought the zone was a little bit better laid out. The story was more fun. I know people love the Frostwolf clan, but Yeah, the lore of Frost Ridge is much better than Shadow Moon, but whatever. Sholazar Basin, it's a great zone. Sholazar Basin was one of the great zones of um, Wrath of the Lich King. It was fun, had easy to do. I love the Nessun Wearing quest line. Um, I love the Titan quest. I just enjoyed the zone. I love the terrain of it. Easy to navigate. The quests were fun. Overall, it's a great zone. I just loved it leveling up. Silithus, bad zone. I don't care about Encourage. Silithus had no quests. Sucked. It sucked so bad that even Sargeras stabbed his sword into it. So that's it. Silver Pine, a good zone. I remember Silver Pine on both Kata and normal. I loved leveling there on my undead. I actually leveled in Silver Pine before even going to Barrens, because in theory Silver Pine should be the similar as Darkshore, but it's not because it's better laid out and had a better story behind it. Still Scourge related, and I have a little soft spot for the Scourge. Spines of a Rock. I didn't play it too much. I usually, if I could, skip over this. So it's going to be decent. It's not bad. I remember it was a hard navigate, and the quests were kind of stacked. All the mobs were stacked on each other. Didn't really like the terrain and stuff, but it was still a decent zone, and so it earns itself next to Nagrand. Stone Talon. Depending on who you're playing with, Horde or Alliance, it's either bad or decent. So we're sticking on the end of the decent. Stone Talon for Horde's pretty fun, doing the Grim Totem quest and work your way up the mountain. For Alliance, all you have is a couple quests there that stem outside of that most northern point. It has one guy, I think, one or two NPCs would give you quests, and it's just Moonglade, unless you're a druid, doesn't really mean much. So we'll just put it. It's a decent zone because of the lore and stuff, but unless you're a druid, you don't really do anything in it. So we're just putting the decent zone. It's not a questing area. Storm Peaks. Storm Peaks is a good zone. Better than so it's probably the best of the good zones. Storm Peaks was, at the time I didn't really understand the Titans. Now that I do, it's definitely a much better zone, but it's still hard to navigate. The terrain's awful. I think it's the only zone you actually need your flying mount on. Ice Crown could be the same way, but I usually try and skip Storm Peaks and went to Ice Crown instead. It's an okay zone, but it's in the good. The graphics are amazing and stuff, but overall just kind of a mediocre zone for me. So it's a good zone, but it's not more than that. Stormheim. Stormheim is a good zone. I'll put it probably next to Dunmorrow. Stormheim is probably the best zone next to. Yeah, it's probably the best zone in my opinion for what the hell is that experience? Legion. I didn't really like the layout of it, but the quest line was. I love the quest line of it with the whole going down to Helheim and coming out of it, and the cutscene between Gen and Sylvanish girl. Storm Song Valley. Let's just move up. So Storm Song Valley is going to be probably next to Drustvar. I really enjoyed Drustvar as well as Storm Song. Storm Song is the first one I chose. I liked the Horde invasion halfway through the quest chain, depending on which way you went. I thought the layout, the terrain was pretty cool. I liked the questing. The quests were linear, easy to follow. Easy. You didn't have to read the quest text to understand what was going on in the zone, and that was good storytelling. So it's a great zone all around. Stranglethorn Vale has actually dropped since I started playing Classic again. It's a decent zone. Put it ahead of that. When I was a kid, it probably would have ended up on the Great to Amazing, but because the quest zoning goes from level 30 to level 42, you end up going back there like 4 times. If you're Alliance, there's no flight path unless it's Booty Bay or Duskwood. The Curzon quests are trash. On the Horde side, the Horde experience is probably a little bit better, but I have to take into account both. Cataclysm definitely made it better, but after playing Classic now, I'm just a little bit, that's where it deserves to be. We're almost there, guys. We're almost there. We'll start speeding up. Suramar. You know what? Here's what we're going to do. We're 54 motherfuckers in. So we're going to start placing these, and then on some of them, I'll explain on some controversial ones. So Suramar is a good zone. I'll put it right there. It's a little bit better. It's a little bit worse than Jade Forest. Swamp of Sorrows is awful. So we'll put the what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the I don't knows at the very end. So Isle of Thunder, Karasing Winds, and Nazmir. Those are gonna be the last. All of these. So just know Isle of Thunder will be start the cap for I don't know. Talador. Talador was a decent zone. Tedan Jungle was bad. I hated the mobs and stuff. It was just a pain in the ass to do. Tanaris is decent, about right here. I love it because of Zul'Farrak. Without Zul'Farrak, it'd definitely be a bad zone. Teldrassil was a fun leveling zone, so we're gonna put that next to Lochmoden. I actually enjoyed Teldrassil as one of my. Actually, well, that's fine there. Terokkar Forest is. It was a bad leveling experience for me. I didn't enjoy it very much. Well, the Barrens, okay. The Barrens is only amazing because fucking /1 trade Barrens chat. The 5-6 hour invasions you had from Booty Bay to Crossroads. The leveling experience in Barrens is garbage, bullshit, tasting awful. But everything else about it, it's amazing. So it stays in amazing. Timeless Isle, I spent a lot of time there, but it's decent. Hey, it was a decent leveling zone. It's no Quel'Dalan or Isle of Quel'Dalan, or whatever it's called. Tiergard Sound was actually a middle of the pack leveling zone for me. I usually it was my last one I did because I hated it so much, but hated it in regard to the 3. But other than that, was my favorite. Tearsful Glades. Tearsful Glades is a bad leveling zone, just like Mulgore. It's hard. The quests ramp up quick, and the quest rewards are trash, and you get fucking pwned quick. Tol Barad. That was a bad PvP zone. The reason Tol Barad's a bad PvP zone is it tried to tap in what Wintergrasp was. I think it's Wintergrasp. Wintergrasp. But it wasn't. It was just a failed attempt at reenacting that. Ta Long Steppes is it's going to be right next to Jade Forest. The 2 zones I actually didn't mind doing in Pandaland. Twilight Highlands is where did it go? Twilight Highlands. Twilight Highlands was a good zone for leveling. Didn't think it was better than the other ones. Where are they? We'll put it there. It was a good leveling zone for Cataclysm, but again, I was over by the end for sure. Uldum, we'll put this in great. Uldum was a great leveling zone when it came to Cataclysm. It was my favorite zone when it came to Cataclysm, but it's not better than the rest of them on this list, so that's why it's on the end of the great zone. Un'Goro Crater is a decent zone. Nothing special about it. It's about middle of the pack, next to Feralis. The only thing cool about it was it had fucking dinosaurs. Vale of Eternal Blossoms. It's a bad zone. I never actually leveled there. Didn't kill much there. Didn't do much there. Valley of the Four Winds. Ooh, this one can go next to Ta Long Steppes. These 3 zones were actually fun experiences for me. These 2 are better than Ta Long Steppes, but yeah. This was a good zone. Val'sharah is, I remember leveling there. I actually enjoyed it, but it wasn't amazing. Vashj'ir, crap. Who likes fucking swimming? Vol'dun, I didn't do. Wandering Isle. Actually, I don't remember Wandering Isle, so we're gonna put that in I don't know. Westfall, fucking Westfall. Westfall's a great zone, just because it's like the first thing you do. I remember collecting the old fucking okay, this doesn't sound dumb. I remember doing the oat quest for Old Blanchy. Then, after around 10 o'clock when my parents made me go to bed, I went into the pantry and grabbed fucking Quaker's oatmeal that was uncooked. Started nibbling on it because I thought I was a horse because I was like, I just collected my own quest item. I love Westfall. Wetlands is a bad zone. I hated it. Wintergrass is the first of its kind, so we're going to put that in a great zone. Winterspring was decent, but very slow decent. I remember there's not many quests there. The hub kind of sucks. It's a 58 to 60 zone. Just kill the fucking Yetis and you're hit level 60. Western Plaguelands. It's a bad zone. I hated those. Zangra Marsh was a decent zone. A little bit better than, that works about there. It's a decent zone for leveling. At first I hated it, but then kind of like, oh, this is kind of interesting. So yeah, Zoldarak was probably the worst zone of Northrend. And Zuldazar, let's cap the ending off with an I don't know. I didn't level Horde in BFA, so I don't know. So let me zoom out and let you guys see my list. There we go. Let's do a little bit more. There we go. There's my list. We've been sitting here for over an hour, guys, so hopefully I didn't bother you too much. I know we kind of rushed there at the end, but, you know, again, it's been an hour. So hopefully you guys don't mind me kind of getting through it. But if you guys sat through this entire hour, I appreciate it. If you sat for this hour, you might as well subscribe and hit the notification bell because you sat this long listening to me. You must like me a little bit. So, once again, hope you guys enjoyed this. If you guys disagree, don't thumbs down it. Just put in the comments, hey, yo, you're dumb as fuck. Treasure Shell is the most amazing level in the world. Fucking Zuldazar is the best zone in the world. Howling Fjord's crap. Fucking put that in the comments below. You know, whatever. Without further ado, though, I'm gonna click off and just again comment, rate, subscribe, and smash the notification bell and hit all, so you're notified. Again, my my upload schedule's a little off lately just because of this bullshit going on. So just let me know how you guys thought about this.